Hello, here I am again. And of course, my little kitty is here as well. She always has to be here. Today, I want to talk again about Pharmakeia. I know I have talked about it probably a couple of years ago during the pandemic. And I need to address it again. I have studied a lot of information about the history of medicine, and I really suggest that you do the same thing. Sometimes we don't get that on YouTube, and we have to go to alternative media. And today I want to address this problem again. I think especially for Christians, we need to become aware of who is in charge of what the Bible calls Pharmakeia. And of course, this word, this original word, Greek word, Pharmakeia, was translated, should I say falsely, because, people always go nuts and say, oh, there are no mistakes in the Bible, in the translations. And, the King James is the very best. Well, maybe it has some good translations, and yet we cannot avoid that there are mistakes. Matter of fact, I'm going to look at the King James today. Usually I look at the NIV. It doesn't matter. I don't study the NIV. I actually have a New King James that I'm studying at this point. I study different Bibles. My original Bible that I got was the King James. And I said that before, King James Schofield Bible. And, oh yeah, that was just good. It was good. Okay, it was good. So I got the King James in my mind. I know what the King James says because I read it over and over and over, memorized it. So when I now read other translations, I always have that other one, the King James, in my mind. And I know the King James has some mistranslations. And then the newer Bibles, they didn't go back, really, many, to the original and did a good job. Some did, some didn't. So when we look at this word, Pharmakeia, in Revelation 18, we see that it is translated with sorcery. And really, when we do this study, that was not a very good translation. Maybe it was a good translation at the time. So many, many words that were not translated correctly, or maybe the new words today were not even available. Like a lot of people scream about rapture. Oh, it's on the Bible. Well, that's because it wasn't even a word 100 years ago. So when they translated the Bible, originally it wasn't there. So they used a different word. Caught up. So when we look at this word, it was translated with sorcery, and there is a connection, or there was a connection to sorcery during King James' time. And I guess the other people, well, maybe we should look what, others say. Like I said, I used the NIV. Let's look what the NIV says. but they usually don't do too much better either. All right, let's see what they used. Spells, magic spells. Now, okay, when you look at again the original, it has nothing to do with magic spells, but rather with poisonous or substances that either could be poisonous or could also be used for healing. So in other words, in those days of John, Pharmakeia was used for substances, drugs that could heal. And these drugs originally came from nature. A healer, a doctor, whatever you want to call it, had knowledge of these potions that heal, and of course also potions that could kill. And it's something, that we need to know, that this has nothing really to do with casting spells. Of course, these potions were used by maybe witches and people that used it for harm, and they may have cast spells over it. That's very possible. But again, the original meaning had to do with potions or even drugs, medicine, healing potions. And of course, we know that Pharmakeia also comes out of alchemy, where they tested with many different potions and ways, substances, and things that could have healing property or even could prolong life, had a fountain kind of youth effect. So yeah, I believe this, I don't believe it, it's obvious when you do the research, and please do the research yourself and let me know what you found. It's very easy, Google it and you will find it. There is no problem, finding this study about Pharmakeia and what it really used to mean. But obviously magic spell was a distraction from what it really is. Why? Okay, did we not want, or does a certain group of people not want you to make that connection between Pharmakeia, what we have today as pharmacy, and medicine, and that word Pharmakeia? All possible, because we know that it does happen. People, these translations are not just totally neutral. If we know that Satan always infiltrates in everything, then we know he infiltrated into the Bible. Remember that parable of the sower. And Jesus didn't say, well, I'm going to protect you guys. I'm not going to let, the tares come in your wheat field. So it's the same thing with the translation. There's minor problems, minor mistranslations. Interesting when we look at this word Pharmakeia, and that is in Revelation 18:23b, because I'm not going to read the whole verse. I hope that you will read the whole chapter and the chapter prior, because the chapter prior also explains who this whole section is talking about and who this is related to. By your magic spells. Your magic spells, your refers to Babylon the Great. And this is by your magic spells all the nations were led astray. Now let that sink in. Again, it's not magic spells, it's Pharmakeia. By your potions, by your medicine. I think a better word would even be medicine. By your medicine, all the nations were led astray. And then you have to think, okay, what medicine? Pharmakeia. What kind of pharmakeia do we have today? What kind of medicine do we have today? Is it natural medicine? No, this is not what they're talking about here. They're talking about magic spell medicine. In other words, medicine that is not natural. During the translator's time, there were lots of people lots of women especially, that were healing with natural potions that they got from various herbs and natural, grasses and different things. Natural potions. They knew exactly which herbs they can use or food sources they can use for healing. And of course, with time, the Roman Catholic Church called all these women witches, and they controlled that area, medicine, totally. All these women, the free women that used to have this, knowledge, they were called being in connection with Satan. So that is the way the Roman Catholic Church learned to control that field. They also controlled, of course, alchemy, which is a precursor to chemistry. And so this whole thing came into the hands of Babylon the Great. Now, if you still don't know who Babylon the Great is, your magic spells refers to, of course, Babylon. If you still don't know that, please read the description. Read the description. Here in 18, it tells you, again, the description is really in 17, but here it tells you as well. Okay? And that's in 16. Woe, woe to you, great city, dressed in fine linen, purple and scarlet, glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. Now you tell me, who in this world is dressed like that? Has been dressed like that from the beginning and is still dressed like that? Please tell me what institution, and it's not a woman, it's not a man, because Babylon the Great is only symbolic a woman. Is only symbolic a whore, because she whores around with idols. And that's why she is a woman. She is a false church, just like the real church is a woman. The bride of Christ is a woman. So is the false church a woman. But she's a whore because she whores around with idols, false gods. And she is dressed with purple and scarlet. So think about what church, and it is not people. People are so confused. It is not a country. So many people think the United States is Babylon. No, she is part of Babylon. She bows down to Babylon, even though they don't know it. But from the beginning, she has bowed down to Babylon. She is, maybe, can you say a daughter of Babylon? You can say that, or an institution for Babylon, whatever you want to call it. And you should be seeing that. Why? If you look at the Vatican and look at Washington, D.C., and then think about what they have in common, their symbolism, and how Washington, D.C. is built, and how the Vatican is built. And I'm going to leave that to you, and I want to go into more detail. You tell me, let me know in the comments below. What is the same? How do I know that Washington, D.C. has some connection with the Vatican? So, yeah, there is a connection. But by Babylon the Great, and again, we are seeing it also sitting on 7 hills. That is not Jerusalem. Okay, the Pharisees are not dressed in purple and scarlet. No. Okay, not even the today's scarlet Pharisees, or even the Jews today, Orthodox Jews, the rabbis, are not dressed in scarlet and purple and scarlet. No, they don't have gold, precious stones, gold, pearls. No, that can only be found in the Catholic Church. Only. Just come on, please, wake up. Stop interpreting things. Stop putting up your opinions. I don't care about anybody's opinions. Neither should you. You should care about what the Bible says, and the Bible describes it very well, who this Babylon the Great is. I again suggest this little book called, I think it's called Babylon Mystery Religion by Ralph Woodrow. I will put it in the description box so you can read if you are still ignorant about who Babylon the Great is, if you knew. So here we have now, in this chapter 18, the fall of Babylon the Great. In 1 hour, I think it says, her judgment has come. And she is connected to Pharmakeia, pharmacy. How is she connected? We don't see that today, do we? No, because, see, Babylon the Great is hiding. She is using pawns, she's using puppets to do their dirty work. Now, Babylon the Great is not the highest place either in power. Over Babylon the Great, and I say that all the time, the pyramid of power is Satan himself. He is the one who uses Babylon the Great. He's the one who uses then, as we can see, who? The merchants. The people with money. People always end up, in this hierarchy of power with what? The people in power, the people with money. The bankers, BlackRock. But really, it says right here, your merchants were the world's important people. That's what it says here in 23 when you start reading. Your merchants were the world's important people. And by your magic spell, all the nations were led astray. So the merchants did it. Of course, we see that today. Who owns pharma? The merchants, the rich people, BlackRock, the bankers. those people that have the money. And they make tons of money with pharma, so they can use that money again to buy the politicians. This is how the pyramid of power works. They make a bunch of money, and that's the way they rule the world. Because people can be bought. They have a whole network of how they control everybody, especially politics. That's why we're talking about the deep state. Because we know, or at least we should know, that what we see, our politicians are only puppets. And today, more than ever, should we actually see that. We should see very much that Biden is not in charge. He doesn't even know what he's doing. He's being used really, literally as a puppet. We don't even know who makes the decisions behind him. We can think, oh, Obama or whoever, it's like, who is really making the decisions behind it? Well, people say, the money, right? BlackRock, the bankers, because they lobby everything in politics. And so, when you look at this, your merchants were the world's important people, okay? That is true. And Sean wrote that a long time ago. A long time ago. And we've seen that, we always have seen it. The merchants are the ones who have controlled even politics, even the kings and the queens, emperors for a long time. And we look at the Rothschilds, we know that they have controlled the money forever since the family started a long time ago. And they financed, all the kings in Europe with their wars. And so they have control of everything, and that's the way it is today. And of course, it's not BlackRock, but BlackRock is only the, what do you call it? They manage the wealth of the richest people. So, but we can see here the hierarchy very well. If we read the whole thing, of course, we know that these merchants were standing, there when she went down, and they were crying and wailing, right? Woe, woe, city. Where do we say this? A little further up. In 11, the merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her because no one buys their cargoes anymore. Cargoes of gold, silver, precious stones, pearls, fine linen, purple, silk, scarlet coat, every sort of citron wood, and so on. And of course, Pharmakeia as well. Okay? So read everything. It's very important to understand who this Babylon the Great was dealing with. And of course, we think today, the Vatican does not meddle in the affairs of this world, but it's not really true. We just don't see it. In the past, that was more the case, like still before the Reformation, or even, let's say before the First World War. People knew how they meddled. Yes, I need to also, I think I have said enough about the relationship between Pharmakeia, the merchants, Babylon the Great. I think I give you enough information, but let's look at this word Pharmakeia and how it is relevant, of course, today. Of course, we still have Pharmakeia today. And how are we deceived through this Pharmakeia today? Well, we are made to believe that this Pharmakeia is really our savior. I don't know, people think, oh, you're exaggerating. But am I really exaggerating? How are people deceived through this Pharmakeia? Well, they're deceived because they think Pharmakeia is giving them, and again, pharmacy, right? When I talk about Pharmakeia, I talk about pharmacy or medicine that comes from pharmacy, not medicine that comes from natural things. That is really our savior. It saves us, it cures us, it prolongs our life. That's been really very relevant for me lately because I'm dealing with old people. Of course, myself, I'm getting older, right? I just turned 67. I know now people my age, they all are on medication. And I think most people over 65, or at least around 65, are on 8 medication at least. 8. And every medication has side effects. And they think they're going to cure them, which is not really the case. Not the case. Let's look at all the medications maybe that people are taking. Most people probably take, first thing they probably take is statin. Something against, or that lowers cholesterol. And my goodness, you can find tons of information on YouTube about cholesterol nowadays. And are statins are really necessary? Do they help? Do they really, high cholesterol, do they really cause more heart attacks? How are these all related? Is it really the cholesterol that causes carotid arteries, that causes maybe heart attacks, or is it something else? And there is plenty of information out there. I don't need to put it on my channel. Please, yes, even on YouTube, you can find that information. Just looked at it yesterday. That's the one that most people are probably on, my age and even earlier. And these statins don't fix a thing. They don't cure. When these people keep having to take the medication, it's not a cure. All it does is prolonging the problem. And it forces you to take these medications until you die. And it will also cause a lot of side effects. Please look at the side effects. The next one then that people, get is a high blood pressure pill, especially men, I think. Oh my goodness, my blood pressure is too high. Well, what's the cause of it? What is the cause of it, people? No, nobody looks at it. Again, what do? We give people medication that lowers blood pressure, but really we never cure blood pressure. Never do. Because, hey, if we would cure blood pressure, they wouldn't have to take the medication anymore, and Pharmakeia wouldn't get rich, right? The thing is, Pharmakeia needs to get rich in order for them to control the politicians. That's how it is. So the politicians will protect the interest of Pharmakeia. And of course, who is behind all of them? Is it really Babylon the Great? and who is on top of Babylon the Great. But I'm concerned about how we are deceived. And I hope you're getting it. What's the next, maybe a medication that most people then next will get? I think the next one is blood sugar. I'm dealing that with my family alone, okay, or my own history. Next one is blood sugar. Instead of bringing down the blood sugar by diet, most people can't do it because they want to continue their lustful desires, right? They now give people, and I see it very clearly with my significant other, okay? They give them medication, and eventually, these people, they try to stay on diets, but they can't because they want to eat, their sweet stuff, and so they go on the medication. I'm not going to say right now what medications, but you should know, you can look it up. And again, what kind of side effects do they have? And do they cure? They don't cure. You're going to have to take these medications until your death, unless you start really changing your diet. And diabetes is reversible, or diabetes 2 is reversible. But people can't do it because they have been prepared from the time they were babies to get a sweet tooth. And they're addicted because sugar is highly addictive. And so hand in hand with Pharmakeia also works the food industry, which definitely made sure that people will then use or need Pharmakeia. And of course, again, who has an interest in the food industry? It's always those people that have then invest their money that they make from food into pharma. So this is all closely related. It didn't say anything here in Revelation 18, but the same merchants that deal with Pharmakeia deal with everything else, including food. What does Bill Gates do? He wants to buy up all the farmland. So everything is related. We are being conditioned from early on to eat bad foods that are not healthy, that cause sickness, and then we are believed or controlled or brainwashed to believe that these medical people are the experts, are going by science, and they are our saviors. From the time we were little kids, we were trained to believe they are the ones that heal us. It's not God. God who has given us, the food that he said you should be using. And also, he made sure that there's healing properties in some of these herbs. And if we follow God's plan, we don't live forever for sure. God set a limit, 120 years, but we don't even reach 120 today. Why? Because we live unhealthy. Of course, it's not just dependent on our food or even on these medications that we are being pumped full of. And I haven't even addressed the pokes yet. I don't even know if I can say it. Many people can say it on YouTube and they're not banned. Vaccinations, right? Haven't even addressed vaccinations yet, where our kids get 72 shots by the time they're 18. And yeah, we can look at them and say, how many of those are necessary, or are any necessary, and what are they doing? What kind of side effects do they have? People who say something against anything against vaccines, of course, they are, I don't know, shunned or whatever, okay? Whatever. But yeah, do your research. There's plenty of research now, again, even on YouTube. Plenty of information. It is out there, believe me. I find it, you can find it. That's for sure. You can find it just as much as I do, if you want to. I want to just remind you about this Pharmakeia and how it is so prevalent today. Because why? We're so connected. Of course, then they create health insurance because our medical system is so expensive that nobody can afford it. So now they're using the medical system to really take the money away from us through these medical interventions and whatever. The medical field is so corrupt and people don't see it. Why? Because they use fear. They use fear to motivate people. That's not just the same thing that they used during the pandemic, but they're doing it even right now. They're using fear. Nobody wants to die. I have a acquaintance, that friend, whatever you want to call it. He is 97 and he doesn't want to die. He's saying, oh, I'm still enjoying. He just broke his leg, can hardly walk. He cannot even walk yet. Swollen up, legs is swollen up. He has pain like crazy and he's saying, I'm still enjoying life. And of course, he has no interest in going home, as we call it, going home, going to the Lord. Oh, he says he's a Christian. He's got his Bible next to him. He reads the Bible. But no, he's not interested in going home. He enjoys life. Now, what does that mean, he enjoys life? It's exactly why we're in the dilemma that we are in. I'm not saying you should hate life or that you shouldn't feel good when you're here. But when you focus your attention on enjoying or having your lustful desires satisfied, okay? That's when we're going wrong. And that's when you become dependent. That's when you become deceived. And you don't see things anymore that really, Pharmakeia is not really healing. It has no interest in healing. It has only interest in prolonging misery so they can get fat. Now, how many years has Pharmakeia done tests and experiments to find a cure for cancer? How much money has been pumped into the research of cancer? Years and years and years and years and years. Wouldn't you think that they have found something that cures cancer? No, nothing cures cancer, okay? They again use Pharmakeia. They use maybe, what is it called? Chemotherapy. Chemo, okay? Chemo. What is chemo? A poison. It's a high poison they put in people. And most people don't even survive it after 5 years. They die. Side effects galore. Oh no, we can maybe prolong the life for another 4 years. But in reality, we're not curing it. Why? Because we're not telling people they need to change their lifestyle. Because the lifestyle is what caused this cancer in the first place. Again, I am not saying something that I made up. It's public knowledge. It's public knowledge. There's enough documentaries done by people that tell you that these things all have side effects. How about radiation? It kills other cells too, not just the cancer cells, and it has lots of side effects. Only one that doesn't, most not as much, is maybe surgery. But again, it doesn't change things because people will just continue their lifestyle and they will get, cancer some other place. So really, I want to see where pharma is really healing, where doctors are healing. Doctors are not healing. Look at, they give you pain medication, right, to bring down or cover up the symptoms. But in reality, it's your body that's healing itself. That's the way it is. And when your body gets to the point where it cannot heal itself anymore, you just die. You just get too old. Your immune system breaks down. What doctor tells you how to boost your immune system? What doctor tells you how to live a healthy life? Nutrition. None of the doctors. Why? Because all the doctors are trained in certain medical schools, which are again tied to pharma. The people that wrote the curriculum of medical schools, wrote it with pharma in mind. Because that's what doctors do. Got this symptom, so we're going to have to do this. That's the medication we're going to use. I went to the doctor and I had an x-ray done, and a month later I went back to the doctor again, and the doctor said, oh, you have osteopenia, or it looked like you have osteopenia. We have to do some more x-rays. And I said, well, what are we going to do if I have osteopenia? Why would we have to take some more x-rays? Didn't it come out as I have osteopenia? So what do you do? And he couldn't tell me. Oh, well, calcium. Now, I know from years of doing research about osteoporosis, because my family has it, that's not the answer. I have taken calcium from the time I was even before menopause. And believe me, if that would have been the trick, I wouldn't have not have osteopenia right now, right? So if that would really help. So what is the other one? Okay, I don't want to give medical advice here. You can figure that out yourself. You can do your research, but it's definitely not calcium because it didn't work with me either. So do your research. What really would be a better solution? Well, I now am taking vitamin K2. But you need to do your research. Everybody needs to do their own research and find out. But again, they're not curing. They're not curing. So what is the next thing they're going to give you? Well, maybe hormone replacement or something like that. I don't want hormone replacement. I want a cure. I want something that cures it, not covers it up or gives me more side effects. And yes, there are people that help you with that. People that study, like for instance, what kind of supplements you can take, because you have a lack of whatever you have, because your body is not functioning correctly. But people, I'm going back to this Pharmakeia. I'm already saying too much, and I'm already over my time. I want to make a point that Pharmakeia is misleading us, that Babylon the Great is misleading us, that the merchants are misleading us, and that we need to start getting out of this. We call it cycle of the devil, because that's what it is. In Germany, you call it Teufelskreis, which is the cycle of the devil. And we need to get out of it as Christians. And it's very sad we have so many so-called Christians, and how many people do we have, how many doctors do we have that focus on natural cures? Very few. And they are all where in the field of New Age. Okay? Eastern religions. And what our people are doing, our people that are so-called Christians, they are relying and trusting pharma. They're relying this medical system. They are already deceived. Pretty sad. Very, very sad. And we need to wake up. Of course, I have talked about against these false churches, false teachers that we're having. Of course, they are misled in many areas. End times prophecy, you name it. They're misled. They're misled by pharma too. That's why too many people, receive this little pokey thing, and hopefully they received a placebo. That's what I'm hoping. And they don't have side effects now or even died. But I'm coming to an end. I'm already way over. Let the Holy Spirit guide you always.